I'm excited about this new series we're starting today. I'm a little anxious about it too. But here's what we're doing. We're looking at 3 blockbusters. Today, next Sunday, and the following Sunday. Next Sunday, Barbie. The Sunday after that, an oldie, Back to the Future. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So you got to do this. You got to do your homework because if you don't watch the movie before you get here, there might be some spoilers if you've never seen the movie. So today, though, we're diving into, obviously, the movie Wicked. How many of you have seen the movie? Raise your hands up high. Some shout outs, too. How many of you have seen the musical, the Broadway musical? How many of you have seen the original Wizard of Oz from 1939? Okay. How many of you were alive in 1939? You were not. All right. Were you, Lou? Okay, Lou. Sorry. All right, good. Yeah, congratulations, Lou. So here's a clip from the original movie that scared the bejeepers out of me. Take a look.
And as for you, my fine lady, it's true, I can't attend you here and now as I'd like, but just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Gum, scared me. Anybody just totally freaked out by that as a kid and haunted your dreams and all that sort of stuff? So the blockbuster movie Wicked that we're talking about today is the backstory of the original movie, right? So Wicked is Act 1. There's a second act coming out in November, but the whole premise of it is, how did the Wicked Witch become so wicked? I mean, in the original movie, 1939, Dorothy is in her house with her dog. Tornado hits. The house is picked up into the air, and it lands in Oz, and it lands on the Wicked Witch of the East, who is the sister of the Wicked Witch of the West. And the Wicked Witch of the West is so angry, she's going to get revenge on Dorothy and that little dog of hers, right? And so the quest begins. Dorothy's like, I got to get out of this place. And the witch is like, I got to get Dorothy and get those ruby slippers off of her. And so the witch is trying to kill Dorothy and her friends. And her friends are the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, Cowardly Lion. And the Wicked Witch in that original movie is just plain evil. I mean, scared me so much as a kid. And not only the witch, but the monkeys too, the flying monkeys. Remember those? We got a picture? Pop that up there. Oh my gosh. Oh, make it go away. Make it go away. I don't like it still. In the original Wizard of Oz, there are good witches and bad witches. You know, clear distinction, good or bad, one or the other. But in Wicked, the movie, it's not that simple, is it? Not that simple. The whole movie is based on the question, what if the Wicked Witch wasn't really wicked? And in the opening scene of the movie, which is a fast forward, Glinda the Good Witch asks a haunting question. So let's take a look at that clip.
Yes. Why does wickedness happen?
That's a good question. One many people find confusifying. Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
Prior to asking that question, they're singing a song about wickedness. And here are some of the words to that song. Goodness knows the wicked's lives are lonely. Goodness knows the wicked die alone. It just shows when you're wicked, you're left only on your own. And that's when Glinda asked that question. Are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? After all, she had a father, she had a mother, as so many do. Now, in the movie, we learn that the Wicked Witch has a name, and her name is, anybody know? Elphaba, or Elfie. And she's got a story, and her story begins with her mother being unfaithful to her father. Her father leaves for some trip, and the mother invites this stranger into her home, and she has a fling with him. This lover has her drink some kind of green, intoxicating potion, and their fling is what leads to Elphaba's conception and birth, and her bright green skin. Hey, I'm representing, right? Anybody else? Look at the shoes, too. Can you see my shoes? They're green. I'm in it. So, this is what leads to that story. And as soon as Elphaba is born, she's rejected. Her dad's like, send her away. This baby is just too green, too gross to behold. And then 2 years later, approximately 2 years later, Elphaba's sister is born with a disability, and their mother dies in childbirth. And Elphaba is blamed. Her father blames her for her sister's disability and her mother's death. As a child, she's taunted by other kids because she has green skin. And she learns, though, at an early age that she has these special powers, that she can, make rocks come up off the ground and get them thrown at these kids that are taunting her. But all that does is get her in more trouble, and it makes her feared by everybody. So her early life, what's it filled with? Shame, guilt, separation. She just wants to take care of her sister. That becomes her life, is taking care of her disabled sister. Now things get interesting, really interesting, when Elfie and her sister Nessarose arrive at school together. The college, it's kind of a college, it's called Shiz. And when Elfie arrives, of course, all the other students are shocked. And the people part as she walks through. They snicker, they laugh, they point. And the thing is, for Elfie, that's been her whole life. There's nothing new about that. It's nothing shocking about that. But what is shocking is that she senses that her sister is in danger. Someone immediately comes, and she's in a wheelchair and starts wheeling her off, and she's like, no, I got it. Well, Elfie reacts to that, and her powers come out uncontrolled, and she kind of smashes up the place accidentally. Well, they see she has some power, so they're like, all right, you can stay, but we're going to put you with Glinda, or Galinda at that time. Her name changes throughout the movie. Glinda. And Glinda is the super popular girl, played by who? Anybody? Ariana Grande. And she's super popular, and she's come to school to learn to be a good witch. And so she hates Elfie at first, like everybody else, but she says, Elphaba, when I become a good witch, what I'm going to do is fix your little problem for you. I'm going to degreen you. Well, there's a word that I recently just learned. Pastor Abby Pepper taught this to me recently, and it's a word that flows around this story, and it flows into the teachings of Jesus. It's the word othering. When we marginalize somebody or exclude somebody, we other them. And people can other somebody for lots of reasons: race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, politics. Rather than engage people in a conversation, rather than include people, we see them as different, as less than human, before even getting to know them. Othering creates us and them. Rather than seeing people individually, we just clump them all together. We're in, they're out. Othering is at the heart of prejudice. Othering is at the heart of discrimination. Othering is at the heart of stereotyping. Othering is at the heart sometimes of violence, because after all, they are less than human. Whoever they are less deserving. Now we see quite a few places in the Bible where people are othered. And so our spiritual ancestors, like we're following Jesus, we're Christians, but our spiritual ancestors, the Israelites, were chosen by God to be set apart from the people around them, right? Chosen by God to be set apart from the religions around them, the other nations around them. But here's what God told them. It's important. God said, you must be holy because I, the Lord, am holy. I have set you apart from all other people to be my very own. I'll make you a great nation, and here's the important part, and bless you. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you. They forgot the last part so often. You're blessed, not for your own good. You're blessed in order to be a blessing to the world, that the whole world might be changed through you. And what ended up happening over time is they said, oh, we're blessed by God. We're the chosen people. Everybody else is not chosen. We're the chosen ones. You're not. We are better than you. They forgot. No. You're blessed in order to be a blessing. They othered everyone else. Get this, they even created a daily prayer saying this. Daily prayer for men, you'll recognize that here in a second. Daily prayer for men that said, thank you, God, that you did not have me born a slave, a woman, or a Gentile. See, they began othering people that they were supposed to be blessing. One time, Jesus is quizzed by a religious leader who's an expert in religious law. He's quizzing Jesus, and he asks Jesus, so what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus was like, well, you're the religious expert. You're the scholar. What does the law tell you? And the guy gives Jesus the correct answer. The law tells us you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said, well, you got it right. Do that and you'll live. But the guy was looking for a loophole. He didn't stop there. The guy was looking for a loophole. And so he asks a follow-up question because it seems like there's somebody he did not want to love. Where's the loophole? There's somebody that he wanted to other. So he asked the follow-up question of Jesus. So you say I'm supposed to do all that, love my neighbor as I love myself. Who is my neighbor? Who do I not have to love? And that's when Jesus tells a famous story, the Good Samaritan. Let me refresh your memory. A Jewish man, Jesus tells this story. A Jewish man's traveling down a dangerous road. He is robbed, beaten, left for dead. And then, luckily though, a Jewish priest comes by, sees this man, another Jew, who is bloodied at the side of the road, but instead of stopping, he actually crosses the street to get to the other side and keeps going. Same with a Jewish legal scholar. Legal scholars coming down the road, sees the wounded man, crosses to the other side and keeps on going. But Jesus tells the story, but a despised Samaritan, that's the word he used, a despised Samaritan, somebody who had been othered by the Jews. This guy stops, provides some first aid, gets this guy up, puts him on his donkey, takes him to an inn, tells the innkeeper, okay, here's enough for a couple days for him to stay here. If he's here more than a couple days, charge it to my account. I will pay you back when I'm on my way back through. And Jesus tells the story and asks the religious scholar who's quizzing him, who was a neighbor to the man that was beaten up and left for dead? Who was a neighbor? Of all the three people that passed him by, who was the neighbor? And I picture this guy kind of maybe turning a little red and saying, well, the one who showed mercy, the one who was kind. And Jesus was like, yep, live like that, and you'll be fine. And Jesus is teaching this man, and through the story, teaching us to see people. He's teaching this man in particular to see people he'd been taught his whole life are less than human. People that he'd been taught his whole life are evil. They're outsiders. Jesus is like, gotta see them. And wow, did Jesus see people who had been othered? The tax collectors in particular. Tax collectors were the most hated people in Jewish society. They were Jews who worked for the Romans, and they got rich off their jobs. People hated tax collectors. Not Jesus. He saw them, spent time with them, ate in their homes, invited one of them to be one of his 12 disciples, a guy named Matthew. The guy that wrote the Gospel of Matthew in our Bibles? Yeah. Jesus was accused of eating and spending time with sinners, eating with and spending time with sinners and prostitutes and showing them God's love, showing them God's way. And then Jesus' genealogy. There are a couple genealogies in the Bible that, this is Jesus' father and grandfather and great, all the whole thing. The genealogy is full of people that should not be listed. People who are othered. One of the people mentioned in Jesus' genealogy is Rahab, the prostitute. One of the things I love about Woods Chapel is that she is immortalized in one of our stained glass windows in the sanctuary. You know, you walk in, she's the only one with this bright red sash on. You'll recognize her. There are women named in Jesus' genealogy. That just wasn't done. Why? Because women were othered in that society. And Gentiles are named in Jesus' lineage too. They're a part of the story because they're the point of the story. From the beginning of Jesus' story, from before his birth, Jesus is teaching a way of life where people don't other people. Now, Jesus was all over this when he painted a picture of the final judgment, Matthew 25. And paints this picture of everybody in the world gathered before the King of the universe. And the King of the universe in this story is sorting everybody by how they lived. Like a shepherd separates sheep from goats. And the sheep represent people who lived generous lives, who lived lives beyond themselves. And the goats are not greatest of all time, just the opposite. Goats are people who lived selfishly. And the king looks at the sheep, goats, the righteous, the unrighteous. He looked at the righteous people and says, welcome into my kingdom. For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. And these righteous people ask, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or sick or in prison and help you? And the king says, I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me. Then the king looks over on his left where the goats are, the unrighteous, and he says, sorry, bad things for you. Eternal punishment because I was hungry, thirsty, homeless, cold, sick, and you did nothing. And they're like, when? When did we see you in need like that and not help? And the king says, when you refuse to help people in need, you refuse to help me. When you othered them, you othered me. See, the whole story of Jesus is a story of him. And who is he? Who is Jesus? God in human form. It's the story of God seeing people, loving people, all people, seeing beyond labels, stereotypes, disabilities, fear-based bias, and being kind, being merciful, and being loving. That's why our mission as a church embraces what Jesus taught and modeled. We are building a movement where all are included, accepted, and loved. No matter your race or gender or who you love, whatever your politics or economic situation, whatever your religious background, if you're an atheist, you are included, accepted, and loved. Now, there are lots of themes in Wicked, but there's just one more that I want to explore. So back to Elphaba. She knows what it's like to be rejected. And she knows what it's like to be made out to be a monster. And her goal, just like Dorothy in the original, her goal is to go see the wizard. Dorothy wanted to go see the wizard so the wizard could help her get back home. Elphaba wanted to go see the wizard so the wizard could degreen her. But something happens that changes her quest. Changes the quest. See, in Oz, animals are part of Ozian society. Is it Ozian or Ozian? I don't know. Ozian society. Animals talk, they have jobs, they have families, and for as long as anybody can remember, humans and animals have always just lived and worked side by side as equals. But something's changed. There's a movement that's taken over, that's making animals out to be enemies. And so they're getting blamed for things that they really shouldn't be blamed for. Well, one of Elphaba's professors at the college is a goat, Dr. Dillamond. I think that's how it's pronounced. There's Dr. Dillamond. And one day he's teaching, and he's violently pulled out of the classroom in front of the students. And a new professor is immediately brought in, and the new professor introduces the students to the idea of cages for the animals. They'd never seen a cage. They'd never heard of cages. And they ask, what's the purpose of the cage? Well, cages will keep them from learning to speak. Cages will keep them separated. Well, for Elphaba, this feels like what she's faced her whole life. She feels like she's been caged because of her green skin and caged because of her powers. And now her quest changes. She wants to go see the wizard, not so the wizard can degreen her, not for something that she wants for herself. She wants to go see the wizard now to help the animals in their plight. Well, she gets to go see the wizard, so her wish comes true. She gets to go see the wizard. But it didn't take long for her to realize that the wizard is the one who started the persecution of the animals in the first place. And he says this, the wizard says, the best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy. It's manipulation and control by fabricating an enemy, similar to what the Nazis did in Germany, right? Convincing the population, hey, any of the problems that we have as a country are because of the Jews or the gypsies or the gay people. Create an enemy to blame, and you can control a lot of people with fear. What the wizard ultimately wants to do is harness Elphaba's power for himself to get more power, to deepen his control over Oz, to cage and silence and enslave all the animals. And when Elphaba refuses to help him, now she becomes an enemy. He calls his army to destroy her, and that is basically the end of the movie. And she figures out how to escape using a flying broom, and as she escapes, she sings the song, Defying Gravity. Probably my favorite song in this first act, Defying Gravity. So she sings the song, Defying Gravity, and what she's defying isn't just gravity because she's got to get out. She's singing the song because she does not want to play by the rules of anyone else's game anymore. The gravitational pull of someone else's rules. And the wizard really got what he was looking for in an enemy. Actually, she becomes a better enemy than the animals. He got Elphaba now. He created the Wicked Witch of the West out of a young woman who just really wanted to take care of her sister, out of a young woman who wanted friends and wanted to be included, out of a young woman that just wanted to speak out against injustice. So that question, are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? Now, for her, it was definitely having wickedness thrust upon her. I was kind of churning that over this last week. Well, seems to be a theme for humanity. We love to create enemies. You know, Gandhi in India, he was seen as the enemy of the British Empire, enemy of Hindu nationalists for taking a stand against the caste system. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was seen as an enemy to white supremacists and government officials for taking a stand about equal rights and treatment of black people. Harvey Milk was labeled as an enemy to democracy, an enemy to decency, because he advocated for workers' rights and minority groups and senior citizens, and especially LGBTQ people. I mean, he and Martin Luther King were both assassinated. But they defied the gravitational pull of sit down, shut up, and do what you're told. They defied the gravitational pull of a culture that wanted to cage and silence certain people, certain parts of society. They defied the gravitational pull of some who wanted to create some enemies just to consolidate their own power and greed. The core of following Jesus is to defy that same gravitational pull into injustice. This is where Elphaba sings the powerful song, Defying Gravity, and then she flies. She does defy gravity. Take a look.
No! Leave her alone! She hasn't done anything wrong! No! I'm the one he wants! I'm the one he wants! It's me! It's me!
What have you done this time?
defy gravity, the gravitational pull into injustice. Jesus saw the injustices of his time, and he called them out, especially the religious leaders of his time. He called them out for their hypocrisy. Here's what he said once: "What sorrow awaits you, you teachers of religious law, you Pharisees, hypocrites! For you're careful to tithe even the tiniest income from your herb gardens, but you ignore the more important aspects of the law, which are what? Justice, mercy, faith." And then Jesus claimed his mission. He said, here's what it is. My mission is to bring good news to the poor, proclaim that captives will be released, the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free. I mean, justice is a consistent message for Jesus. It's woven into so much of what he did and how he connected with people and who he helped. Justice was a big part of his confrontation with the religious leaders of his day. He defied gravity. And the question is, will we? Will you? Will you defy the gravitational pull of othering people, the gravitational pull of social injustice? Will you find ways to advocate for people who are pushed aside, made into enemies, people who are othered, immigrants, the mentally ill, minority populations, other religions? Will you be willing to find out the social costs of bargain clothing and how your shoes are made in Vietnam, the living conditions of the people that harvest the cocoa that becomes the chocolate that you love so much, the coffee that you drink? Will you learn and take a stand against the ecological injustices that happen in our country and our world because of our insatiable appetites and the waste that those appetites create? Will you defy gravity? Wicked is just a movie. It's just a movie, but it points to some of the core facets of following Jesus, because following Jesus means learning to live life his way, a way that defies the gravity of othering, his way, defying the gravity of accepting social injustice or choosing to just not see it. His way. Let's defy gravity. Let's defy gravity. And for today, that's the good news. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.